Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for joining Daydreamers Club podcast. Today, I am here with Don. He is a multifaceted business owner. He does everything from knife sharpening to private chef work and also freelance marketing. But I want to kind of give you a chance to give me like a little introduction about yourself and everything that you kind of do.
Cool. Yeah, I've been living in Austin since 2006. I've been living here longer than I was away, so I call it home, even though I'm not a native Austinite. But
Where are you from originally?
My hometown is about 2 hours from here, called Hallettsville, Texas. It is a blip. It's a very small town,
Small little town.
2,500 people. So yeah, I had to get the hell out of there.
I love it. Did y'all used to go to like the local Walmart for fun? Was that the...
Yeah, we had a Walmart. No lie, like the Walmart, when I was a kid, I was probably like 10 and they got a McDonald's inside the Walmart. And like my dad took me to go check out the McDonald's. Like it was a big deal. Like we didn't even get food. We just got like a soda, and he was like, "It's pretty cool, huh?"
Like we're living life now. I know. I feel like anytime someone tells me they're from like small town Texas, I'm like, "So how is the Walmart?"
Yep.
That's how it is over here.
It
But
is.
anyways,
So what I'm doing now is kind of chasing the things that I love most, and so I own a knife sharpening business called Studytheblade that I started back in 2021. So I sharpen for home cooks and chefs around Austin. I also do some mail-in service around the country. I do like sharpening classes, a lot of different stuff, just to keep people's knives sharp, so cooking is more enjoyable.
yeah, that is such a niche thing.
It
I feel
is,
like.
yeah.
How did you get into that? Like, what started that?
I first learned to sharpen my knives when I worked in restaurants back in like 2006 to 2013. I was in restaurants, and one of my old sous chefs taught me how to sharpen my knives because I was literally cutting something one day, and he was like, "What the hell? Your knives are so dull." And I was like, "I don't know, chef." And so he taught me how to do traditional work on whetstones, and so I always kind of upkept my own knives. And then, like many things during the pandemic, I was looking for a hobby as I was working from home.
The origin story is the pandemic for everyone, I feel like.
Yeah. So after I left restaurants, I was doing life cycle retention marketing for startups in Austin. And during the pandemic, I was working for Made in Cookware, and we were all working from home, and I just needed something new to focus on. And so I started really getting into keeping up with my knives. So a lot of books and YouTube videos and just a ton of trial and error, and started to get really good at it. So then I started sharpening for my friends, and then had the aha moment when somebody was like, "You should charge people for this." And I was like,
I can do that?
I can do that. Yeah,
Wow.
Cool. This is a business.
That's so cool.
So I said, let's see what happens. So I've just been running as a side hustle during my normal 9 to 5 for the last few years. And then at the start of this year, finally left the corporate life and have been doing this full time along with freelance chef work and then freelance marketing. So kind of these three weird prongs of things that I'm good at and that I can actually monetize. So it's been an interesting year figuring everything out.
No, I love that. And I also like that you kind of have like a mix of different things, and it's all these like different businesses. So before, I'm assuming you mentioned that you were a chef. So did you kind of start off as being a chef? Like, how long have you been doing that for?
I started off as a server, like many people. And I was working at this little steakhouse in my hometown in high school. And then when I moved to Austin, I was working in restaurants here. And I just had this like drive to like learn more and move my way up. So I think I was like 18 or 19. I remember sitting down with my managers, and I was like, I want to open a restaurant one day. I want to learn everything there is to know about operating a restaurant. And she was like, all right, like,
let's
do it. I'll teach you everything I know. So she was an awesome mentor for me. And so I just started learning everything. I started, moving up in the restaurant, bartending, management, started doing more kitchen management stuff, kind of learning both sides, and then did some line cook work. And as I learned more about that, I was like, this sounds fucking terrible. I never want to open a restaurant ever.
I think that's such a hard thing to do. I had the same experience when I worked at a bakery. I was like, I'm gonna have my own bakery, and then I
Yeah.
worked at a bakery. I was like, absolutely not. This is way too much work.
So
I was gonna ask. I was like, do you still want to open a restaurant?
not at all.
You're like, pivot.
Yeah, I mean, when you're like scrutinizing the price of a salt and pepper shaker, I was like, this isn't very fun anymore.
Yeah, it's so expensive, and I don't think a lot of people realize that.
Yeah.
Like, it is. I think it's one of like the things. If you open it, like 50% of businesses or restaurants are like supposed to fail in like the first 5 years.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a statistic out
Yeah.
there. So I think that's just like
The odds are stacked against you.
kind of,
Yeah.
but I'm glad you kind of realized that. You're
Yeah.
like, okay, maybe this isn't the way. And so eventually, did you go from doing like private chef work after that, or did you kind of get into marketing?
Yeah, I was always drawn to more of the back of house work. So kind of after I left the restaurant I was at, where I was doing more management stuff, I just did strictly line cook work. I have a friend's restaurant here in Austin that no longer exists.
Oh.
So I was a line cook for a couple years, and then at the same time I was finishing my business degree, which took me forever because I was working full time in restaurants, and I was like, oh, I'll take 1 or 2 credits a semester and be
Easy.
fine. So, I'm the quintessential 8-year degree without being a doctor thing. So then I was like, all right, like, let me use this degree. And so I got out of restaurants and I started doing marketing at some startups here in Austin, but I've always kind of been in the food space in some way. So the first company I worked for was called Tabbed Out, which I don't think exists anymore, but it was a mobile payment app for bars and restaurants.
Okay.
So it was really honestly before its time, because this is 2014, 2015. And
that's way before.
Yeah. And it was really hard to like make it sticky. Fast forward to the pandemic, I bet it would have exploded and been very successful. I think they pivoted at some point to just making POS systems or something. But anyway, so I worked there, and then I worked at Favorite Delivery for about 3.5 years. So I did life cycle marketing there, which
Very
was really
Austin
cool.
of you.
Yeah. So I started decently early on there, which was fun. And then we got acquired by HEB, and that was pretty incredible. And then I had heard about Made in Cookware, and I was like, whoa, what is this cookware company? Like, they have an Austin office. Started doing more research, and my time in restaurants, I was like, I know what good cookware is. And so I got a couple of their products, and I was like, holy shit, like, this is legit. And I just kind of fell in love with their story and how things were going. And there was like nobody at the company at the time. And so much so where they were like inviting people to come to their office to like meet people, I guess.
Yeah. Come hang out.
So I was like asking to make an exchange through their customer support, like the only customer support person at the time. And she was like, oh, like, I've seen you tag us on Instagram before, and like, I see your address is pretty close to our office. Like, would you want to come by and meet the founders?
Such a small company. Oh my gosh.
Like, what? I was like, this is super weird, but I really want to like figure out how to be a part of this company. So like, I'll go for it. So I went by, and it was this little house that was shared with 3 other businesses off Cesar Chavez, right next to Cenote. And so I met the 2 co-founders, Chip and Jake, and they just kind of told me, everything they were doing, and how like they'd only been around for about a year when I met them.
Wow.
And so I kind of told them my story, working in restaurants and kind of what I do now. And they're like, well, like, we're working on our Series A funding right now, like, stay in touch as we kind of grow the team. And so I basically just annoyed them for the next few months and kind of stayed in touch. And they got a small round of funding, and they needed somebody to do what I did, and I got hired on. So I was like employee number 8, I think, there, and then spent 5 years there.
Okay, so this was like 5 years ago at this point?
Yeah, so I started in 2018, I think, there, and then I left almost a year ago, actually.
Wow.
So yeah, so I was kind of on the ground floor there, and so always like every marketing company I was at, I was somewhere in the culinary food space in some sort of facet. So it's always
really
been kind of
cool.
part of my life. Then always like cooking at home and hosting crazy dinner parties and stuff like that with friends, and just kind of always pushing the envelope on what I can learn. And so I think that's what helped me get the confidence to do freelance, like, private chef work now.
Yeah, I'm sure having like the skill set of obviously working in restaurants and then working in marketing, it's like you can really combine those two and like make yourself successful, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
So when you left the company, were you just like ready to take the leap, or what kind of made you want to leave?
I was ready for a change, and I thought I was ready to take the leap into what I'm doing now. So this was a year ago. And, me and the CEO, who I'd literally sat next to for 5 years, he and I had a great relationship, and we kind of talked through a lot of things. And I feel very gracious about how that situation kind of ended, where he was like, hey, like, we're going to post a role to backfill you. You'll stay on until we find somebody, and then we can like hire you on as a contractor forever, whatever time you needed. So they gave me this really cool off ramp, which I was super excited about. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna freaking
like
be a chef.
Yes.
I'm gonna keep growing my business. And I was terrified. I didn't really have the like financial cushion that I probably needed. And I remember like I had called my parents, and I was really excited to tell them about this new journey. And I was met with a lot of resistance, and it was a very deflating conversation, and it was really hard. I definitely learned a lot through it. Kind of that conversation and what I should probably be doing. I guess from being more open and communicative with my family about what I'm actually doing, because I've distanced myself from my family a little bit over the years for certain reasons.
It's fair though.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay. I don't think that specific conversation set me back, but I feel like it probably did a little bit, just in the back of my mind.
It kind of hurts like your confidence when
Did,
you're
for
like,
sure.
I really believe in myself. I'm going to do this thing. And then it's like the people who are supposed to be there supporting you are like, maybe you shouldn't.
Yeah.
That hurts.
It was tough. And then like a couple weeks later, I randomly got a text from a friend of mine who worked at this financial services company in Austin, and she was like, hey, we're hiring for a director of life cycle. Like, would you be interested? And I was like, sure, like I'll take an interview. Like,
you're like, well, my family doesn't think I can do this, so
I was like, maybe I should, like a total pivot of industries will be something good for me. Spoiler alert, it wasn't.
You're like, just kidding.
So I ended up getting this job at this financial services company, and I was like,
it's a
all right,
big
cool.
pivot.
It was
Financial
insane.
Yeah. What?
I don't know what the hell I was thinking. I was chasing a paycheck. It was more money than I had ever thought I could make in my specific role. Like lifecycle retention marketing, like isn't the highest paid in digital marketing. So I was like, shit, if I can make this much money, like let me give it a shot.
Yeah.
I'll do it for a year. I had a team of 3, which was great. I'm been used to running my own, like being a solo team, basically, in the startups I was at before. So that was really cool. I was like, I really love people management. This will be great. And I hated it.
Oh, no. That's what happens when you chase a paycheck. I swear to God. Every time.
Literally learned the true meaning of like money isn't everything.
Yes.
Like what a shock.
I think it probably, so I'm assuming you've left that company since.
Yeah.
So I imagine that like you being like, okay, I'm going to go work for myself. I'm going to do this freelance full time. You kind of having like your confidence blown, going to find a job that is making you completely pivot, even though the money's great. It probably made you realize so much that like, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing.
Big time.
Why did I go back to this?
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. So since then, so when did you leave that job?
I left that job in December of 2024. And it is for reasons that I am not embarrassed to talk about. I actually think it was a pivotal moment in my life, which I find to be very positive and not negative. So I started the job in June of last year, and things were going fine. Like I was making the team more efficient. We were doing all these things, and it was really good. There was, the other aspect of this job that was just really highly technical and a little bit out of my league. And these are some things I talked about with during my interview. And so there was some like, it was known that there were some weaknesses in that area of kind of my skills. And as things progressed, like that just kept like getting a little bit harder and harder and harder. And I think it was this double edge where probably 5 years ago, I'd have been met with those challenges and I would have been like, hell yeah, like, let's go. Let me learn all these different things and I'll excel. I had just gotten to the point of the end of that career where I just didn't want to learn anymore.
You're
And
like, I don't even want to be doing this.
Yeah. I was like, I don't want to figure out how to solve these problems.
Yeah.
Um,
Very valid.
and so it was rocky, and I like spent a lot of days in dark places, and I was very sad, and I hated having to wake up, and I went through this mental thing where I didn't want to go to sleep because I was like, if I go to sleep, I'm gonna wake up, and I have to go back to work.
Oh, that is
Like sad and
yeah,
terrifying.
that is just straight depression right there. You're
Yeah.
like, I can't close my eyes.
Yeah.
Maybe tomorrow won't come.
Yeah. So I was making more money than I ever thought I could make. And I was very depressed and very sad. And it was at the same time, like me and my wife were like preparing for our wedding. We got married back in October.
wow.
And so it was like this crazy juxtaposition of the greatest time of my life
And, like, the
mixed with the
worst.
darkest cloud. So anyway, so I had some pretty like very candid conversations with my boss, you know, in November area, and mid-December rolls around, and I get the Monday evening calendar invite for a Tuesday morning 9 a.m. meeting.
Oh.
And I was like, okay,
It's
I know
happening.
what's happening.
Bye, y'all.
I was like,
You're like,
I've done this before. I know what this means.
Yeah. Maybe I can sleep tonight.
Yeah. And so I got out of that conversation, and you know, I was terminated, and honestly, I feel very fortunate to how things played out. I thankfully had made a really good impression there during my time, and yet there were just some pieces that they just needed somebody with a higher skill set to do or to fulfill that role. So I got really lucky. They ended up giving me a 2-month severance after only being there for
Hell
like
yeah.
8 months.
Hell yeah.
This was like mid-December. They kept me on payroll until January 3rd. So my insurance would last to the end of January. So I got a freaking sweetheart deal out of this. And so I remember leaving that meeting, and obviously like I was like bummed. Like that was a
Yeah.
hard thing to go through, but about 30 minutes later, I felt so relieved.
Oh,
I just had this
love-
literal like wave of just holy shit, all this weight off my chest of all these things that have been giving me so much anxiety that I didn't want to do and I couldn't figure out how to do. And that was all gone. And so literally that same day, I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. Like I have the runway now financially to do what I want to do. I have to go for it. Like I don't want to go job hunt again. I don't want to go back into the same area that I was just in. Like I don't want to do all this over, because I know that's not the solution for, you know, the fulfillment of my life.
Exactly. It's also one of those things where it's like, wow, okay, everything happens for a reason.
Mhm.
You being in that role really just proved that, like, I don't want to be in this. I don't want to be in
Right.
corporate America. I don't want to be, you know, working for the man or
Mhm.
whatever. And then it also left you with, because in the beginning, how you were saying, like, oh, I left that job to fulfill, and maybe I didn't have enough savings. And then it kind of left you with like a savings. And
Yeah.
I can't imagine like how much more assured you felt in yourself. Have you talked to your family since? Like, are they aware? Do they know?
It took me like 4 months to tell my siblings.
Okay.
And then I have yet to tell my parents.
Hi,
to be
Mom and
honest with
Dad. I can leave this out if you need.
So I just keep pushing that back. And my parents are awesome. Like I love my parents to death. They're very sweet. And like I owe a lot of who I am to them, and kind of literally like me being here today, like growing these businesses and going out on my own. Like I don't think I could have done that without the way they raised me and like the values that they instilled in me. So just it's a generational gap of, you know.
Well, it's the safety and like what you
Right.
should be doing, and oh, you're supposed to go to school and be married at 25 and have kids,
Yes.
and like in a perfect world, maybe, but that is not the world we live
Mhm.
in. And it's also one of those things where now, like, genuinely, the world is so different where that dream doesn't exist.
No,
Like,
not at all.
it's not,
It's not
unless you
attainable.
come from a lot of money, like, it's not attainable. And so I think it's really brave for you to be like, okay, I'm going to do this for myself. Because imagine in 10 years, you're still working at that job where
Mhm.
you don't want to wake up from every day. Like, starting now versus later.
Yeah.
And putting that like investment in yourself and believing in yourself to do it. So like how has it been since you've quit your job and gone full force on everything?
It's been honestly like so rewarding. There's obviously so much that I still have to figure out. Like there's a lot of life stuff that you have to do as a solo entrepreneur that are terrifying.
Each year you just kind of learn something else and it's like, okay, now I have this.
So I try not to focus too much on the grown-up shit that I need to do.
Right.
And I try to focus on the things that are going to help me, you know, A, grow my businesses, but B, like what's going to make me happy. And just my mental health is 10 times better than it was a year ago. Like I literally get up and I'm excited about doing what I do, whether like I have a bunch of knife clients on a given day or like I have an event to prep for, or I have like a new freelance client, you know, those excite me now. And I just feel so much better and less afraid to go after what I want. And I feel way more confident. And I hope that like my goal really is I get to do this more. Like so many people asking me like, oh, like a lot of my knife clients are like, oh, do you do this full time? Or like, what do you do? And so I get to tell this story and everyone's like, holy shit, like this is really cool. Like I'm really impressed by all this stuff you do. And I'm just like, I'm just doing it. Like
That's the thing is you truly just have to do it.
Yeah.
There's that saying where it's like, oh, the only difference between you and that one person that you're jealous of or whatever it is that they're just doing it. And obviously it's way easier to be like, just do it. Nike. Just go for it than to actually do it because it is very scary. There are so many like leaps. You have to have that confidence. You have to be assured and you have to also love what you're doing too.
Right. Yeah, big time.
And I'm sure for you, I think probably going through that whole transition, you're like, this is really what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's also going to make you fight harder for your dreams because you don't want to go back to that.
No, exactly.
Ever.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to take any steps back. I think I've gone through these like progressions in my adult life through careers of, 8 or 9 years in restaurants, did all this stuff. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, I feel good about that chapter. I definitely didn't like there was totally more than that I could have learned and done. But for me, I was like, all right, this is the end of that section of my life. Onto my marketing career, 10 or 11 years in that. Totally a lot more than I could have learned in that aspect of my career. But I was like, for me, I'm done.
You're like, I'm done. I do not want to learn.
So, maybe over the next 10 years now that I'm starting this new chapter, things might change in 10 years. I hope so. Like I want kind of the differentiation. Like
think about you 10 years ago to now. So it's imagine how much can happen.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy to think about it that way. When you were younger, I know you mentioned that you wanted to have a restaurant, but like before that, were you always interested in cooking or was it?
Not really, honestly. I didn't really get into food and cooking until my late teens. So probably, when I started working in restaurants when I was like 19 or 20, because that's when I really started getting exposed to back of house. And I was like, this is really cool.
This is fun. It's like family back then.
Yeah. And like I grew up in a big family. I have 5 or 4 siblings. And so my parents cooked a lot. And so I was always around food and cooking, but I don't have like the quintessential story of like, I was under my grandmother's table while she was making noodles. Like, I don't.
I was under her table. My Italian grandma. What was your siblings' response to you quitting? Were they excited? Were they proud? Or were they just like, okay, do they care?
Yeah, they were supportive. I think oh man. Who knows if whatever, I don't care if this gets out.
Me every time I do one of these, I'm like, sorry, family, I probably shouldn't say this, but
I think we grew up really Catholic in a small town, and I've always felt emotionally stunted because of that.
Absolutely.
After going through therapy and learning a lot more about just myself and how to express emotion, it really opened up my eyes of like, holy shit, like nobody in my family knows how to express emotion properly.
Oh, I feel like, yep, I can relate. I have a similar, like when I quit, I was terrified to tell my family.
Yeah.
Like I ended up telling them a few months later. I was at Thanksgiving. I'm like bawling telling them. They like did not give a shit. Like so much so where I'm like, oh, y'all don't actually care.
Yeah.
Like it was weird. But I remember like when I told my dad, he was like, oh, I was waiting for this to happen. Like, duh, Drew. Like, duh.
Yeah.
But everyone else was like, okay, back to eating. Okay, yeah. But it's interesting when you were like raised in more of like conservative household. I mean, that's just Texas too, like Catholic or Christian. The impact it has once you kind of become an adult. and go to therapy
Yeah.
and learn all of these other things about
Mhm.
yourself. So yeah, I'm sure your family was like, okay.
Yeah. I have a closer relationship with my sisters because they were, so my oldest, I have like two brothers that are the oldest, and then I have two sisters. And so my sisters were the closest to me in age, so I like was around them the most. My oldest brother's 10 years older than me, and the other one's 9. So, I was in like, late elementary, and they were kind of already graduating and moving up to college. And not to say they don't have a good relationship with them, but
Mhm.
I was always closer with my sisters. And so they were super supportive and really excited. Like I ended up like recording a video of myself to tell them because I was like, this is a long text. So
Yeah.
I just filmed this like 3-minute video and I sent it to them.
You're like, hey.
So they've been great. And my brothers are my brothers, and they're just like cool. Like
Yeah. Okay, moving on. I'm sure again, expressing the emotion. It's like, okay, next.
Yeah.
What do you want me to do with that
Mhm.
information? Plus, now you can also be like, well, I'm already doing it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you, but I'm already doing it.
Yeah, and I
So,
think I wanted to like give myself some time before I told them because I wanted to feel established, and I
right.
wanted to be like, hey, I'm already doing this. It's already working. Like I'm already financially like things are fine. Like I'm making enough money to do all the things I need to do and pay my rent and whatever it is. And
Exactly.
so,
And you're so much happier.
yeah, and I'm way
Like,
happier.
yeah. And like,
Yeah.
truly, that's really what matters because at the
Mhm.
end of the day, it is your life. You don't want to live for anyone else.
Yeah. And I was fortunate that my knife sharpening business has been started for a couple years. So I had enough, kind of notoriety a little bit, and I had enough client base. And then once I was just always limited by my time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I was trying to do drop offs for people like during the day, and like I was working around meetings and stuff like that. So it was a little hard. And then I was doing everything at night.
Oh.
So I was working a full day, a job I hated,
and then you're like,
sharpening
this is
at
awful.
knives until like 9 or 10 p.m. And so once I literally had an open calendar, I was like, all right, let me figure out a better appointment system for my business. So I had this new appointment system, and I just like had my books completely open from like 10 to 8 every day minus Sunday. And it was like, boom, like off to the races. Like my business just started taking off.
That's one of those things too where I'm like, I feel like when you trust in yourself and like trust in the universe, it will provide.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very woo-woo in that way.
Yeah.
Things happen. And you'll also find, this is my advice to you, you'll find, hey, maybe when things are like slower, that's your time to rest.
Yeah.
Don't
Totally.
forget to rest
Yep.
because as entrepreneurs, we're like, we have to work 24/7. We need money. And it's like, you need to rest.
Yeah.
So since
100%.
you've quit, what is like a big thing that you have either learned or struggled with that you didn't really think that you might have? Or is there anything that you're like, wow, I didn't expect things to be like this? It could be good or bad.
I think one thing that's positive that, I kind of always try to keep in the back of my mind, even throughout all my careers, and I think it has become more prevalent now that I'm running my own business, is like human connection, and, building connections with people is so insanely important. One good example would be, when I was at Made In, I had hired a freelancer to do stuff for me, to help out with our program. And she was really great. Worked with her for about a year and a half before I left the company, and she's still doing freelance stuff for there. And she'd only been doing freelance lifecycle marketing for like a few months when I hired her. And so I'd always kept in touch with her and just had really good rapport with her. And so when I was like, all right, I'm going to do all this stuff on my own now, I was like, I don't know the first thing about how to get into freelance marketing. Like I've hired freelancers forever, but like I've never been on the other end. And she has been like an insane resource for me to help me with everything. And it was kind of funny. Like I felt like I was mentoring her before, and then now she's been mentoring me.
Yes.
Which is a really cool flip. And I like, honestly, like if I wouldn't have like built this relationship with her, like I would have been a different spot from like my freelance career now. And I think that was something I wasn't expecting, to be like, holy shit, like I need to like look back at people that I've met throughout my career to really help me kind of catapult this next version. I think the hard things that I've learned the most is honestly like kind of what you're talking about, like when it's slow, like rest. And because it's very hard for me to turn that switch off, where it's like, I gotta go.
It barely gets easier. I'm like almost into year 4, and I'm like, okay, I guess I could nap in the middle of the day. Like, what am I supposed to do?
I think at the beginning I took like all of January, I was like, I'm gonna do the least. I'm gonna try to do the least as much as I can. I was like, I have some, financial cushion. I'm gonna be okay. Like, then I'll like really kick things up starting in February. And I think I did a good job of that but I definitely felt guilty where I was like in the middle of the day, I'm like playing video games, which I never got to do before, or I never really had the mental capacity to. And so I was like, this is pretty cool. But then there was like the back of my head, I was like, you're being a lazy piece of shit.
The
Like,
guilt
you
is
need to
so
go do
real.
this. Like, you haven't figured this out.
The guilt is so
yeah.
real. And I don't really know. I don't have any advice to turn it off because I still really struggle with that. I think it's just one of those things of acknowledging it, like knowing that it's gonna be there, but you also don't want to get to a spot where you're so burnt out in something that you love.
Yeah.
So it truly is a balance in doing that.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you have accomplished that you're just so freaking proud of? I mean, besides quitting your awful job and going full force, like, is there anything that you're like, wow, I'm doing this. This is a really cool thing.
Yeah, I would say of this summer. So there's a lot of cool stuff in my knife business that I've accomplished, but I think I live, and I think this is so many people live this way, where I suffer from imposter syndrome, like chronically. I don't know if I'll ever get out of that. So if you're suffering from imposter syndrome, you're not alone. We all go through it.
You will.
But I've always loved cooking, and I've been in and out of the chef world for so long, and I've always struggled with like considering myself a chef or a cook. I was like, like I haven't really earned that badge. Like I've spent I see exactly. Like, I spent 8 years in restaurants doing all this stuff. I've, done events and things here and there. But I was like, I never like felt like I was confident enough to say that.
Okay, you're a chef.
Thank you.
I'm going to give you the title right now. You're a chef.
But a friend of mine owns a private chef company here in Austin, and he also owns a little lunch spot at the fairground now called Golden Boy. Go check it out. Monday through Saturday, 11 to 3.
I'll go.
And so whenever I, left my job, I was like texted him. I was like, hey man, like if you need help with events and stuff, like let me know. I'd love to get some extra work and do things. And so I started doing events with him over the spring, and it was really fun. Like got to work with some really cool chefs, and a really good friend of mine works for him as well. So like it was like cool. I get to hang out with some of my closest friends. It's super fun, learning a ton. And then we got a crazy call one day, and he texted me and he was like, hey, I need to know in the next 10 minutes if you can drop everything and be gone all of next week in West Texas. And I was like, I think I was just like, hurt, Jeff. Like, whatever.
Yes. Whatever you need.
I was just like, all right, let's fucking do this. I have no idea what this means. And I was like, I think I have some like, I just need to make sure my freelance clients are fine and some knife clients. He was like, none of that will matter.
Oh my gosh.
Like, okay, what the hell is this?
What are we doing?
So fast forward, we got a contract to go work and cook for, or be the chef team for the Blue Origin space launches.
That is amazing.
So the friggin' billionaire Bezos company, and there's a little bit of mental conflict with but I'll take his money. So
exactly.
So I feel like, when that happened and I was on this team, there's 5 of us, we're on the middle of nowhere, and we are like cooking for these astronauts. And they're like +1s, plus a bunch of other of the staff for Blue Origins. And I say astronauts because they call them astronauts because technically at the altitude they go to for these launches is past what's called the Kármán line. And so if anybody that goes past that, you're technically considered an astronaut, even though they only spend about 3 minutes floating around. Then you're
technically considered a chef.
I can spend 3 minutes in space and be called astronauts. I can be called a chef.
So it wasn't like Katy Perry.
Yeah. So that's the same group or the same company that did the Katy Perry
that's what
one.
I was thinking. That's so cool.
So we do that now, and like we've gone out there twice now, and so now we've like impressed them enough that we're going to be doing it for the rest of the year. So like every 4 or 5 weeks, we're going to go out there, and it's 6 days of just 90 hours of work. Like it's just, it's 4:30 a.m. until 7 p.m. It's insane.
What a cool experience though, too.
Yeah.
How was it like when you got there and everything? Did you feel nervous, or was it
big
just
time.
Yeah.
We kind of had an idea of like what was expected, so they gave us kind of like a layout of how everything works, and we kind of built the menus and all this stuff. And I think going out there, it was really exciting, a lot of unknowns. And, I'm on this team of chefs that this is their whole career. They've been spending as being cooks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt like I was like, was it small fish in a big pond kind of vibe. And like, I know all these people and I'm friends with them.
But you're there for a reason.
So I didn't feel like I was like an outsider, but I always had this little bit of, imposter syndrome. But after like working with them and like, I felt so part of the team and I felt very valued and I felt like an asset, and like just from the things they've told me and things like that, like it wasn't just me like, oh, I feel good now. Like it was reiterated by them, which is really cool. And so that was like, I think that's the biggest moment this year. I was like, okay, cool. Like I finally feel like a chef.
Yeah, I am officially a chef.
I am a chef.
Well, I'm sure it's also very rewarding. So I have learned, I would say like 90% to overcome my imposter syndrome, because I realized that imposter syndrome comes from you are the only person validating yourself. Like, sure, you have your wife or like some friends being like, hey, da, da, but you're not in a role anymore where you have someone who is like the boss of you being like, you're doing incredible, you're doing great, you are on the right track. It's like you're constantly having to like second guess, like, am I doing this right? Is this the path I want to go down? Should I do this? Should I do that? And then you start looking at like everyone else who's in your field and comparing yourself, and you just kind of have to like remember that it's, again, like your path, your journey. Oh my God, Tobio. Girl. Chill. It's your path, your journey. You can do it however you want.
Yep. And
that is like the biggest thing. And I also had to like personally, I mean, I'm sure it's not the same, but like I had to unfollow some photographers because I was constantly like comparing myself. So if you find yourself like on the internet comparing yourself to all these people, then don't follow them.
Yeah.
Like, you can support them in other ways. You don't have to follow them, but I definitely imagine in that space and in that field, especially because what you do is very niche, it's harder to get that like constant validation and like, am I doing this right? I mean, unless someone's like trying your food, but that's really, really cool. So congratulations on that. So this year you have been able to be freelance full-time working for Blue Origin. You are doing your knife sharpening, and then when it goes into marketing, so what are you doing with your freelance marketing?
So my expertise is in retention / lifecycle marketing. So think email. It's all the people that email you and text you about.
So is that what lifecycle is? You keep saying that, and I'm like, I have no idea what he's talking about.
So lifecycle is like the lifecycle of a customer, right? So from, you have kind of two splits where it's like acquisition, meaning this part of the business is going out to acquire new customers. So they're spending money, doing ads and things of that nature, building the brand. And then as that user gets into your system, then it is part of your life cycle. So now it is my job. I take that user as my job now to retain them. So I need to do everything I can to keep them in our, like, keep buying from us or keep engaging with us in whatever ways.
Is this for like product-based businesses?
It can be for, like, most businesses have a life cycle retention. Like, it doesn't need to be product specific. It can be services. It can be, subscriptions or whatever. It can be anything. Because it costs more to acquire a new customer than it is to keep them and retain them to make more money, right? So my kind of brands I like to focus on to work with are typically e-commerce, so product based, just because it's the industry I was in for the longest and it's the one I know the best. So I'm like, well, I'm not trying to like outreach anything in my freelance marketing career. Like, I'm not trying to do anything that I don't know how to do.
You're not trying to learn.
Not trying to learn. I have like literally priced myself lower than my actual, expertise level because I don't want higher level work.
Yeah, that's
like,
fair.
I want executional stuff that I can do day in and day out, that it's super easy. And I don't mind being paid lower because I don't have to worry about all the high level strategy and stuff. Right. And so there is some strategy work that I do with brands. Like, my main client right now is Poncho Outdoors, which is a clothing brand based here in Austin. And they don't really have anybody specific running their like retention program. So I'm coming in and like having this wealth of knowledge and doing all these like what I think are very easy things that are making big impacts for them. So that's incredible. Like really exciting and very rewarding.
Yeah. Very validating. Like, you're seeing your all your progress.
Yeah. They're like, oh my God, like we they had a Father's Day campaign, and I kind of just focused on all their automated email and stuff like that. So like, think when you check out a product and you don't like, you exit their website and you get an email later that's like, hey, you checked this product out, blah blah. So like, I beefed up all their abandoned cart automation, their welcome flows and things of this nature for the sale. And I just remember getting a text from the guy that I've been working with, the creative director, and he's like, holy shit, like we're up like 400% year over year, like
That's
like just from these little small
incredible.
things. So it's very rewarding to like take these brands that are like in a really cool infancy stage, that are in this really hyper growth mode, where literally like that's where I spent my entire career, and kind of help them, nudge them along to these little areas that I think will help improve. So yeah, so that's kind of my main focus is like e-commerce startups that need help with retention, and like whether it's some minimal strategy work of like, hey, like we don't even know where to start on this, like here's a game plan I can give you, or it's like executional where they have a game plan and they're just, we need someone to like press the buttons, and I can do that. So
Wow.
yeah.
So yeah, you can kind of do everything. That'd be cool too if you could like, I mean, I don't know if you're already doing it, but implement it with more like chef cook style things. Because I feel like then you could really blend those together.
Yeah, that's what I did at Made In for those that long. It was great because I was doing two things I was really good at and really had a passion for. And I haven't gone back to them to see if they need
You're like, hello.
But I do keep up with the CEO and stuff. Like Chip is an awesome guy, and so we text on a regular basis. So we stay in touch, and I have so much love for that brand, and I just think it's literally the best cookware brand that you can find, and I will stand behind that forever.
I know, I need to check them out now.
Yeah, I might be able to get you a little discount.
Some things. Who wants to sponsor me?
I think, now, like I'm thinking more of these cool brands that hit my knife business a little bit more. Like, so there's this really awesome apron company based out of Vancouver, Canada, called Search and Rescue Denim. And they make like kitchen aprons, and not only for kitchens, but they make tattoo artists like aprons, they make barber aprons and things of that nature. And it's just this really badass brand.
I love those like sexy denim aprons. I'm like, I don't cook enough, but I won't.
Yeah. And so I have a bunch of their aprons. I've chatted with them numerous times, and they're very small. And so, just trying to keep in their wheelhouse if they ever need some freelance
let me
work.
help you grow.
Yeah.
Especially when you believe in a product and you love a product. That's my favorite, is when I'm like really, really excited. Like I'll have clients where I'm like, I believe in you so much. Like I'm so excited to work with you. This is going to be amazing. So that's really exciting. Yeah. Well, do you have any other advice or anything that you want to share with the world?
I would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to my amazing wife, Callie. Shout out to Callie.
She was talking so incredible. Like the way she talks about you, I had chills. I was like, I'm gonna cry. This is so incredible. Y'all together, what a dynamic duo.
Yeah, I honestly, like, I'm very fortunate to be her partner, and I think we're like each other's biggest cheerleaders. Like we were always hyping each other up, and I truly don't think I would have had the confidence going into doing what I'm doing if I didn't have her by my side. Like,
you said the exact same thing about you.
Like whenever I remember not being scared at all to tell her that I had lost my job. Like I was like, we both kind of knew what was going to happen. And I just remember she was sitting on the couch and I came out of that meeting and I sat next to her and I was like, well, it happened. And she just kind of hugged me, and I was like, hey, like I'm gonna take like 30 minutes to just like kind of be with myself, do some journaling, process everything. But I just came out.
You've really gone to therapy. We love to see it.
Please go to therapy if you haven't.
That's the advice.
Just go to therapy. My advice is to go to therapy when you don't need it. That's how I got into it.
I always say that.
Yeah, go before you need it, because then you're gonna be well more equipped for when you do.
Truly.
Hopefully not need it, but but yeah, I think like we are just each other's rocks, and we're each other's hype people, and I love her to death. And like I owe a lot of my confidence in what I'm doing today to her, and just knowing that I have this person next to me that is always going to be behind me no matter what. So gotta give a shout out to having good partners.
We love her. And she's doing a lot of cool things too. I'm going to have her on.
Yeah, she's rocking and rolling now. She's going after her dream too. So did I inspire her? Probably.
You're like, you're welcome. You're welcome. That's incredible. Well, where can the people find you? Where are all your apps?
I got a lot of ats. So if you need knife sharpening, if you're a home cook, you probably don't even know that you need knife sharpening. Your knives are probably dull. You don't realize it. So hit me up, studytheblade.com, at studytheblade on Instagram. I have a TikTok too. Same. Everything Study the Blade.
Cool.
It's just a fun meme from years ago that I turned into my business name. There was this meme that was like, it was like a high school kid like holding like a sword. Like the quintessential like kind of like nerdy kid, and he's like, while you went out to prom, I studied the blade.
Oh.
And so it's this like circulation of memes of like, while you did X, like I studied the blade. And so I always thought that was really funny. And so when I was kind of like learning how to sharpen, like my buddies would like text me about something. I'd be like, I'm busy studying the blade. And so I was like, well, that's gonna be my business name.
That is so funny, actually. I just imagine I can like see the meme of that. You're like, y'all are doing this, I'm doing this. Love it.
And then so I co-own a private chef company with my friend Nico, who I've known for 10 years, and we've cooked together and we've done crazy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We started a dinner pop-up years ago called Feast and Film, where we would pick a country and build a menu around like the country's national like dishes. Mm-hmm. And then our friend would find a movie that was food related that was filmed in that country.
Wow.
And so we did this pop-up like with friends for a few years. Then we started a Malaysian pop-up in during the pandemic together. So his family's Malaysian, and we kind of started doing this to-go pop-up out of his house during the pandemic, and that has kind of honestly still around. We still do events here and there. And then last year, he and I started a new company together called Charred Hospitality. So charredhospitality.com or at Charred Hospitality on Instagram. And it's kind of this meeting of both worlds where it's this Southeast Asian meets Texas kind of vibe, and a lot of like food, fire, smoke, sweet, sour, spicy kind of stuff. So it's a lot of the food that we grew up cooking, me being from Texas, him being from all over the US, but his family heritage is rooted in Malaysia. So it's this really cool kind of cuisine that we get to put out, but ultimately like we kind of cook whatever we need, and the goal is to cook really good food, not to specifically stay in one lane, but Southeast Asian / Texas is kind of our specialty.
What a fun like mix together. And do you do like private dinners as well?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, so we focus mainly on private dinners. Like there's this weird differentiation amongst the freelance world of like a caterer and a private chef.
Yeah.
And there's a stigma against catering that is, when you think catering, you think chafing dishes and mashed potatoes and like chicken corn on blue and stuff, which is fine. Like there is a need for that. And I think in the private chef world, you like try to stay away from that stigma. But I think we all need to probably get over that and like find ways to merge the two. So yeah, we focus on private dinners, 10 to 20 people, 30 people. And then we do some events that are like more large scale. Like we did a 600 person event back in April where we cooked like a whole hog and did this fire roasted hog and did like carnitas tacos and curry butter oysters and things of that nature. So we kind of have a decent mix.
So difficult. Me trying to cook like 3 things at once is like, good luck. Good luck. Yeah. I need to connect you with my dad because he has an Airbnb, but he always has people who want like private chefs.
Oh yeah.
So I'll connect you, and it's always like maybe max like 30 people.
Yeah.
Or sometimes they do weddings and stuff as well. But I appreciate your time today.
Thank you for having me. I loved it. It was a great convo.
Yes,
Super fun.
Yes, that was amazing. I love learning your story. It's so crazy that like I love the part where you like quit your job and then immediately take a different job because you're like, oh shit. But it happens.
Yeah, it happens. You just kind of roll with it. I think like that's the biggest piece of advice is like you just figure stuff out.
Yes.
You'll be forever figuring things out. There's no perfect solution. There's no secret sauce.
You just have to do it.
Yeah.
You just have to do it. But all right. Thank you so much, everyone.